Hi, my name is Rakia and welcome back to my channel. So today we will be doing a deep dive on Miss Toni Childs, okay? If you cannot tell by my excitement, I absolutely, positively love Toni. I love Toni down. Be careful what you say in the comments about Miss Toni, okay? Because I will defend her. For me, I just think Toni embodies everything Black, beautiful, successful, bougie, articulate. Like, I'm sorry, I love Toni. She's a go-getter. She sees something that she wants and she goes and gets it. Some of y'all are convinced that Miss Toni Childs is a bad friend. That's okay. You're entitled to your opinion. We're not going to get into that this episode, but this episode we will be focusing on her traumatic childhood. Now, before the designer bags, the country clubs, the brunches, the endless search for a perfect man, there was a little Antoinette Marie Childs, a Black girl from Fresno, California, who learned far too early that love had conditions. This is the story of Miss Toni Childs, not the bougie best friend, but the little girl she was and the trauma she never truly outran. So let's get right into it. If you know Miss Toni Childs, you know she is everything embodying money and sophistication. But Toni's upbringing was defined by two things: poverty and pain. Although she didn't talk about it much, she did grow up in Fresno, California, a place she rarely mentions with fondness, in a home where love wasn't always present and safety was rarely guaranteed. So I want to say Toni grew up in a house with 3 siblings. So it was her, she has 2 sisters, and she has a brother. And I remember her sister, well, one of her sisters, who she is now distant with, she's her sister that primarily raised her. Then she has another sister, and then she has a brother who eventually went to med school. Now, although Toni does have an estranged relationship with her sister, which we will definitely get into, her sister primarily raised her, and that's because her mother struggled with alcoholism. So just to set the tone a little bit more, Toni's mama's name is Veretta. And Veretta, while she struggled with alcoholism, she was often very unavailable, unpredictable, and at times very cold towards Toni. And then her father, to be honest, was very much of a passive man. He kind of just let Veretta do whatever she wanted to do. She was more of the alpha woman. He was more of a beta man. She was more outspoken. He's more quiet. So, right there's like different levels to their relationship and how they communicate. And he just kind of let Veretta do whatever she wanted to do. So just to recap, again, we have an alcoholic mother and a passive father. So what does that kind of result in? Well, it results in a quiet kind of trauma in being a child who learns early that no one is coming to save you. And that's the Toni we meet in Girlfriends, a woman who saved herself but lost parts of her softness along the way. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what I mean by that. So, on the outside, Toni's identity is curated. From her polished nails to her luxury taste, everything is curated and manicured. But underneath is a scared little girl trying to survive through control. She uses beauty, which she has plenty of, honey, status, and proximity to power as her armor. She chooses law firm partners, NBA players, and successful men, not just for love, but for escape. And this is why I truly love Toni, because I'm one of those people where I just feel like she is so misunderstood. Because for a lot of people, Toni is just very shallow, extremely shallow. All she cares about is money this, money that, designer this, designer that. But to me, I'm like, yes, she's shallow, but she's more so scared. And in a world where Black girls are rarely allowed to be soft and feminine and gentile, Toni becomes sharp. She's blunt. She's even mean sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. And it's all protection. She's chasing stability because she never truly had it. So if you listen to my commentary about Joan, you heard me say that although I'm not crazy about Joan, Joan and Toni are very similar, and the fact that they both have trauma rooted in their childhoods. And so in their adulthoods, it just manifests as them chasing stability. They're both very cutthroat, they're both very mean, they're both very honest, they're both very in your face. Both of them. But the both of them have trauma in their childhood. And the way that it manifests in their adulthood, it looks kind of different, but once you really start looking, and just getting to the root of it, it's really just stems from the same thing, just childhood trauma. And Joan's childhood trauma is that her parents got divorced at an early age, and we can see even in adulthood how much that impacted her. But anyway, enough about Joan. Back to Miss Toni. So Toni's friendship with Joan, Maya, and Lynn is more than just girl talk and bottomless mimosas. It's her chosen family. All three of them provide the security that she lacked as a child: emotional, financial, and even physical at times. But here's the thing about Toni's trauma and how it manifests in adulthood. She struggles with accountability, with humility, and with vulnerability. And then when she lashes out, it's often the frightened child inside her throwing a tantrum because she feels the world is unsafe again. Now, this is just my opinion, okay? My opinion is not fact, but I truly feel like Toni's inability to say, "I'm sorry" or "I was wrong" is truly tied to her childhood. She was never given grace, so she never truly learned how to give it. To be honest, the only person I feel like challenged Toni was truly Todd. Like, Todd was the one that was like, "Toni, you need to be accountable for this. You need to stop spending this. Not everything is materialistic. Think outside of yourself for once. You say you want love, but then when I give you love, you run away." I mean, don't forget, y'all, she gave Todd an ultimatum to marry her, and that was after like 6 months of them dating. So, he was like, "Girl, ease up. Like, I love you. I got you. Don't worry." But again, that was just her control coming through. She could not even help herself. Poor thing. But back into her childhood. So every time Toni is reminded of her childhood, she is truly triggered. And that definitely is embodied in this scene with her sister Sherry and herself. So Toni's rocky relationship with her sister reveals something deeper than sibling rivalry. It truly exposes Toni's complicated relationship with her roots. Sherry represents everything Toni worked so hard to distance herself from: Fresno, their impoverished upbringing, and the emotional wounds tied to their childhood. When Sherry visits in this series, Toni is visibly uncomfortable, not because she doesn't love her sister, in my opinion, but because her presence disrupts the carefully curated life Toni has built. In the scene, Sherry and Toni share an intimate moment where Sherry basically says that she doesn't like Toni because she feels like Toni is ungrateful. And Toni's kind of like, "Well, don't be mad at me for getting my bag up and leaving Fresno." And Sherry's like, "It's not about that. It's about the fact that I raised you and I helped make you who you are, and you never said thank you." And it was in that moment that Toni kind of realized, I have been being a bad sister, and I apologize. I apologize so much so that I want to help you get out of Fresno and become the woman that I am today. And Sherry was like, "Why would I want to do that?" Girl, I love being in Fresno. That's my home. That's who I am. I'm not you. LA, this is you. I'm Fresno, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy with who I am, and I just want you to accept me for who I am. So I think before or earlier I had said Todd was the only person that held Toni accountable for her actions. Yeah, we can add Sherry to the list. I forgot about Sherry. Add her to the list. So in totality, despite her efforts to reinvent herself, the past always seemed to find Toni. From her rocky relationship with her daughter Morgan to her inability to maintain healthy romantic connections like Greg and Todd, it's clear trauma ignored is trauma repeated. Now, in my itty bitty opinion, the show doesn't villainize Toni. For me, it humanizes her. We all have parts of Toni that we identify with. Let's be honest. She's not just the diva of the group, she's the poster child for what happens when little black girls are forced to grow up too fast and are given too little. So I know we can all relate to something that Miss Toni Childs has taught us, okay? So whatever Toni taught you, write it down in the comments. And if you're having difficulty thinking of something, Toni Childs taught us that survival isn't the same as healing. I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you take nothing from this video, take this. That whole reinvention without introspection, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It just leads to more pain in prettier packaging. Now, do you want to be pretty, polished, and healed? Or do you want to be pretty, polished, and in pain? It's up to you. The choice is yours. It's your life. And lastly, the last piece of advice that Miss Toni Childs taught us was even the most guarded among us deserve love. Real love. That kind of love that sees through the attitude, the need for designer shades, designer shoes, designer purses, designer fragrance, designer all of that. You are worthy. And maybe, just maybe, Toni was trying to believe that too. This was Miss Toni Childs, not just the it girl, but the girl who never stopped fighting to feel safe. Thank you for watching, and remember, characters are complex because people are, especially the ones who make us uncomfortable. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Jabari likes to take walks. Jabari likes snacks.
And most of all, he likes to be called by his real name, Jumanji.
Oh, yeah.